Hey, what's going on YouTube? So in this video, we're talking about my exhaust coming up. So I've actually been meaning to do this video for a while. I just kept forgetting, and then when I'd remember, I'd put it off, and finally getting around to it. So I installed this exhaust January of 2018, a few months after I got the truck. At the time, I had 1,100 miles on it. I am now currently just over 35,000 miles. This is a Flowmaster catback exhaust. It's got dual exit pipes, but it's not true dual exhaust. It goes from one and then two out of the muffler. And honestly, I don't really like dual exhaust, and let me show you why. So here's the reason why I don't really care for dual exhaust in this application. Because this is commercially available, they're not going to be all that perfect. If you went to a custom exhaust shop, you'd probably get a better fit. But both pipes are not exactly even or the same. They don't come out in the same spot on both sides, and it drives my OCD nuts. I did try and do what I could to get them even. They're close, but they're still not perfect, and it kind of bugs me. It may not bug you guys, but it does bother me. So I'm going to do my best to get underneath there and show you the exhaust. I don't have a lift. I apologize for that. I did make a few changes to it from the way that you purchase it to make it work for me, as well as the muffler, but I'll show you that and explain it in a minute. So we'll start right here at the left rear. This is the driver's side rear, and it has to wrap around underneath the spare tire. There's plenty of clearance in there. There's at least like 2 inches. There's less clearance on this side, but there's still about 1 inch clearance. So hopefully you can see in there the hangers. I did put some like hose clamps on the ends of those so they don't slide off. With this side, the hanger that's welded to the pipe in there, I did cut off, reshape it, and re-weld it to the pipe to try and get it to hold in a better angle. On this side, I did have to cut part of the frame because the exhaust would shake and hit against the frame and make noise, and that was quite annoying. So going up underneath here, this is one of the connections here. There's a hose clamp here, but I also welded it. And this is the back side of the muffler here. All right, so here's where I made some of the changes. This is actually a 70 series muffler. The system usually comes with a Super 50, which is just a little bit louder, a little bit more aggressive sounding. But the first time I towed my trailer, I couldn't have a conversation in the truck. I thought it was the exhaust. Turns out it was actually the intake. It was the air-raid cold air intake. But I had already put this muffler in here. I didn't weld it in or anything, but these types of clamps, they're just like the cheap, like AutoZone or O'Reilly clamps. They kind of crimp the pipe on there. So I couldn't get it back off very easily, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna fight with it. I'm just gonna leave the 70 series on there because I'm fine with the way it sounds. It gives it a little bit more aggressive of a sound, but it's not too loud, and I was totally fine with it. So I did have to get like an extra pipe here, and then I had to get an extra piece to step it from this pipe to the size on the 70 series. So there's an adapter right in here. Again, I welded all the fittings. Let's see if we can zoom in on some of those welds there. I am not a professional welder. I've only welded a few times, but I'm happy with the way they turned out. I don't think they look too terrible. And another thing that I did is I added in one of these hangers. So I got this hanger, I believe I got it off from Amazon. It did have its own issues, but I made it work. So I did have to get another piece, like a shim, that I welded onto here because this is much smaller than the hole that goes into here. So I just got something from like Ace Hardware and put it on there and welded it, like just did like a little spot weld or something like that to hold it in place so that I could hang it from right here. I just used an existing hole in the frame and bolted it on there. I think there was even threads on there, and I put a nut on the back side just to make sure it wouldn't go anywhere. But this is the original hanger right here. But because the muffler is longer, I wouldn't be able to use it unless I welded a hanger to this, and I didn't have any hangers to like weld to it, or a bender to make my own hangers. So when I posted the video a couple weeks ago on my TRD intake and cleaning the air filter, M. Anton commented about how I should have an exhaust to help get those extra gases out when I have a higher flowing intake. You should have a higher flowing exhaust as well. And I just haven't gotten around to doing a video on it, so this is that video. On my 2002 Tacoma, I also went with a Flowmaster catback exhaust. I do prefer the sound of a Flowmaster over like MagnaFlow or some of the other ones. They just sound too, I don't know, too, just all gets mixed together, and I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like you can kind of hear the cylinders firing better with a Flowmaster. You can hear almost each individual piston firing, where everything else is just kind of so like, oh. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the sound of most other exhausts. I like the sound of Flowmaster. So that's why I went with Flowmaster. But on the 2002, the reason I preferred it is because it was a single pipe exhaust. So it swapped out to a 2.5-inch pipe before the muffler, and then after the muffler, it was a 3-inch pipe. But again, it was only a single pipe. And I would rather have something like that for this Tacoma. I don't really like the dual exhaust. It's just aesthetically not as pleasing. Plus, I like the look of that 3-inch pipe. The pipe was 3 inches, and then I think the tip was like 3 1/4, I want to say, maybe 3 1/2. I don't remember exactly, but I think that it looked better, and I did really like the sound of it. This doesn't sound bad. It's just the aesthetics for me. That's all. You might like the dual exhaust look. I don't mind it when it mirrors itself, but when it's too far off, my OCD just goes nuts. I did look, I didn't find this particular exhaust on Amazon. I bought it originally off from Auto Anything. I got the muffler off from Amazon, but I got the rest of the exhaust off from Auto Anything. I will see if I can still find a link and put it in the description below if you want to check that out. So this exhaust setup does do enough to give it a little bit better sound, a little bit of a growl, but it's still not obnoxiously loud. And you can also still have a conversation in the truck. Even while I'm towing the trailer, you can still have a conversation. Anymore, I think that the loud exhaust, especially on like a V6 or a 4-cylinder, I think that they just don't sound that great. If you're gonna go loud exhaust, you better have a V8, otherwise just don't. So if you have any other ideas and you want to see me do a video on it, go ahead and leave a comment in the description below. For other Tacoma related comment, go ahead and check out my Tacoma playlist up here. And until next time, we will catch you on the next one. See ya.